All right, we're live. Let's see, it's April 22,
Second, yes.
2021, and we were just reminded that it's Earth Day, whatever that means. Well, what it was supposed to mean, it was originally meant to be an opportunity to take a day out of the 365 days a year you get, take one day and think about the Earth. The same way that you're allocated one day a year to think about your mother, okay? Mother's Day. Or one day a year to, think about your fellow man, if you want to consider that's what Christmas is for. So basically capitalism gave us permission one day a year to think about the Earth. So this is Earth Day. And we're supposed to think about the Earth and celebrate the Earth and all this kind of stuff. And my heart's not in it. I don't see anything to celebrate. I don't see one thing to celebrate. There's not one thing to celebrate. Joe Biden took today to call an ad hoc, quick, off-the-cuff summit with his peers in the developed world on Earth Day to get together, have a Zoom call. I guess it was a Zoom call. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a virtual call, which is great. That is thinking about the Earth. They're not going to get in their private jumbo jets and fly all around the world and get together in their private hotels and have their private meeting in their private club with all their private meals and all their private everything, hookers and cocaine and the whole thing. So they did this virtually, which is great. Good on them. I'm sure it will be just as effective of a summit virtually as it would have been face-to-face. Either effective or not effective. I mean, I don't think the effectiveness was altered one way or the other.
Take your glasses off.
So,
take your glasses off. It's hard to see.
Oh, I could, but I don't really care.
Yeah, they see your eyes. Yeah, there you go.
They're still there. Same eyes. So, what can we say about the Earth? Now, one of the reasons that Joe Biden called this quick meeting on Earth Day with his peers was because Donald Trump, 4 years ago, whenever, his first day in office, took the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords. Now, I said at the time, it didn't matter whether the U.S. is in the Paris Climate Accords because the Paris Climate Accords, one, don't do enough to protect us from the ravages of climate change. Two, were voluntary measures. And three, even, there's nothing can be done at this point. And that was, essentially 4.5 years ago. So what I want to say is that we need to have Earth Day 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. Not because I'm a dirty hippie and I want everyone to be hugging a tree and eating tree bark or whatever it is that you think that people want you to do on Earth Day. All right. The reason we have to have Earth Day 365 days a year is because we are now at war with the Earth. The Earth can still be our mother. That's fine. You can think of the Earth as your mother, and one day a year you're going to have Earth Day, the same way one day a year you have Mother's Day, and you buy a card and you send your mother a card, and maybe you call her on the phone. All right. You can still think of the Earth as your mother, but now your mother is angry. Your mother is angry. And as they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. All right. And the Earth has been scorned. We've been having Earth Day for, 50 years now or something. Right. When did it start? I don't even know. We should number the Earth days so that we understand how fucked up we are. OK, that we've been doing this for X number of years in a row.
51.
And things simply get worse. Yeah, that's about what I thought. 50 years.
51.
So 51 years of taking a day to think about the Earth didn't do jack, okay? Didn't do jack, anything. And it was about as effective in maintaining our relationship with the Earth as you sending a Mother's Day card to your mom one time a year, okay? Meaning if that's your actual relationship with your actual mother, that once a year you call her or once a year you send a card, then you don't have one. You don't have that relationship, okay? You're pretending. This is pantomime. One day a year,
BS.
One day a year, you're reminded by capitalism and consumerism that, now you should try and pretend that you have a relationship with your mother. And Earth Day once a year was a bad idea. Okay, it was a bad idea. I know there was a bunch of hippy dippy flippy hippies who came up with that idea, and they thought they were going to encourage people to have a relationship with the earth, but it was a bad idea. Okay, it did nothing. You just put a little band-aid one day a year over the rape of our mother. One day a year, we're a little less violent in our rape of our mother. I don't know how else to put it. And now, 51 years further along, our mother, Earth, is at war with us. We're at war. And the elites, if you're not paying attention, let me point out to you that the elites are beginning to sit up and take notice that we are at war. It's 1936 Germany, and Hitler has just invaded Czechoslovakia or whatever, and people are starting to sit up and take notice. We are at war, and we are going to lose. I think if they had if they had some kind of a strategy on how they're going to win this campaign with the planet, they'd be rolling that shit out right now. And they don't have a plan. They do not have a plan. And the engineer is here. The engineer is in the house, and the biologist is in the house. And the biologist engineer is here to tell you there ain't no plan to fight the planet and win. You're going down, Sparky. Okay, you're finished. We are at war with this Earth. Only 4% of the mammalian biomass on this planet is not us or our domesticated animals that we use for food, for us, okay? We are in now the 6th mass extinction. It's here. It's got a name. They're numbering this one. It's number 6, and you better get ready because it's going to take 1 million species.
And we caused it. This is the only one that we've caused. The other ones were just geological events. We're causing.
Yeah, this is us. This is us. Oh, and we've been doing this for a good 10,000 years. We've been extincting species for about 10,000 years, and now it's just totally ramped up. It's ramped up so hard and so violently that now they say, "Oh yeah, here we go, number 6,
1 million species.
Number 6, mass extinction in about 2 billion years. There's been life on this planet.
In about 2 decades, they're projecting.
Yeah, it's a fait accompli. Okay, it's done. So here we are on Earth Day. All the world leaders are getting together to celebrate Mother Earth, or whatever they're really doing. I don't even know. We are at war with the Earth. We are at war with this planet, and this planet is going to kill us because we are now up against planetary physics. The ice is melting. The biosphere is vanishing. The sea levels are going to rise.
Global heating.
Guaranteed.
Global heating is causing droughts.
The temperature of this planet is going up so fast that it's making people's heads spin. And so on Earth Day, on Earth Day, the elites got together. Goodbye, Donald Trump. 4 years of just fingering ourselves, and he's gone. And now they're going to get together. Basically, the first opportunity, right out of the gates. Donald Trump is gone. The Republicans are down, and we're going to get the world together again, have an Earth Day, and talk about climate change. Well, what they really are doing right now, what they're doing all over this planet right now on Earth Day, is they are in their war rooms on a war footing on Earth Day in the year 2021. We are on a war footing. Now, we are going to lose substantially. We are going to lose substantially. This war is going to take. This war we will actually understand the field of battle only correctly 20 years after we stop burning fossil fuels. 20 years after we stop burning fossil fuels, when emissions go to 0, 20 years after that day, we will finally know what the battlefield looks like. Today, we do not. We do not actually even know what the field of battle is. We don't know what's going to be thrown at us. We don't know how we're going to be slaughtered and degraded and driven out of our homes. It's exactly like the Mongol horde. That they're coming. We see them on the horizon, but they're not here yet. And we don't even know what they're going to do to us until they show up. We simply know they're on their way. And right now we know that climate change is going to murder us, drive us out of our homes, destroy our communities.
Literally.
These are not metaphors, okay?
Right.
These are not metaphors. We know climate change is going to murder us. It's going to drive us out of our homes. It's going to flood our homes, destroy our crops. Not metaphors. It's going to disturb the entire global economy, maybe even destroy it. It's going to absolutely threaten entire global civilization, whatever you want to call that. Well, if you even assume that's a good thing, nevertheless, it's on its knees. Global civilization right now today is on its knees. And when these global leaders get together on Earth Day 2021, they're not loving their mother. They are generals assembling in their war room to discuss the coming campaign to try and save anything. So happy Earth Day if you're a hippy dippy flippy who wants to love your mother and go plant a tree or something. I mean, do those things. Yeah, absolutely do those things. You do those things. I'm going to be doing those things. I'm going to go for a nice walk. I'm going to come back. I'm going to work in my garden. I'm going to do all those things. But I know in my mind the same thing that Joe Biden and his buddies know in their mind. Today is not a happy day. And as with any war, as with any protracted conflict, we are going to be in Earth Day as we are experiencing it today, every day of the year. There was never a day from December 7th, 1941 until sometime in 1945 when the U.S. was not at war. Every day was war day.
We're at war.
And we are right now at war with nature, whether we admit it or know it or not.
That is right.
We are at war with nature.
Right.
And from this day forward, today is a declaration of war.
Right.
It might as well be. Why not just pick today?
Right.
Earth Day, year 2021.
Right.
The human race declared itself at war with nature.
We have been at war.
We have been at war with nature since the first Earth Day. Okay, for 51 years ago, we were at war with nature, but we were winning. We were degrading habitat. We were killing species. We were digging up the mountains. We were blowing the tops off the mountains.
Building buildings. Everything for ourselves.
Expanding. We went from 2 billion people to 8 billion people, all in 51 Earth Days. Okay, but today,
and our fossil fuel use has gone up.
We are on the back foot. We're on the wrong foot in this war with nature. Now nature is attacking back.
Right.
It took us this long to inflame the planet against us. And now the planet is coming out of its corner that we backed it into. And it's coming out. And it was always bigger than we are. It always had the knives and the axes. It always was in a position to cut us to ribbons. And now it is coming out of its corner. Teeth and claws, and we're finished. And all the things we thought we were going to do 51 years ago, that we were going to conquer the planet and tame the planet and exploit the planet and enrich ourselves, now we're going to have to do it on a war footing. If you're going to continue doing those things, you better have your axes out. You better have your spears and your sharp things out, because nature is coming for us with her claws and her teeth. And she outweighs us 100 to 1.
1,000 to 1. Yeah.
1,000 to 1. 1,000,000 to 1. It's almost inconceivable how badly outmatched this side is.
Even they said at the meeting today, we were talking about Russia, and you don't know, flooding is happening.
Okay,
so
stop.
intensely.
I don't want to get into the weeds. This is not going to be the contribution you make to this. Okay, I don't want to get into the details. I just want everyone to understand that on this Earth Day 2021, after 4 years of just child babbling from the Trump administration, just childlike, toddler babbling, the generals of the world have gotten together and said we are at war. And I don't know what they think they're going to do in this campaign to try and save ourselves as nature comes out of her corner. Just claws and fangs. I don't know what they are talking about today that they're on this big campaign that they're going to push back. No, we are outmatched 1,000,000 to 1.
1,000,000 now.
1,000,000 to 1.
floods, fires, droughts, all that. That's coming. That's it.
We don't have the money. We don't have the technology. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the time. We don't have anything that would help us. There is not one thing that could help us that we have anything of. We don't have the money, the time, the political will. We don't have the following of the people. Nothing. We don't have anything. We've been pushing on nature and driving nature into a corner, and nature has come around and is now clawing down our back on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021. So that's my message on Earth Day. You are at war. You don't even know it. You're about to be bitten off, and you don't even know it. And you're going to have to be celebrating Earth Day, shaking in your boots 365 days a year from this point forward.
To cope. You always said that's the word. All we can do now.
You are not going to win. You're not going to stop this.
We're not winning the war.
You might slow it down. You might
if we go to zero immediately.
If you work really hard right now, you may carve out some tiny little pocket of survival for the rest of humanity, for the rest of the time we're on this planet.
A very small pocket.
A small pocket for a small number of us. Maybe you can salvage that. Maybe in the end of this, 100 years from now, when we make peace with nature, and we finally understand how to live reliantly and
in tune with solar, everything solar based.
I don't even know what the answer is. The answer might be back to rocks and sticks. Okay,
the sun. Yeah,
you can talk about that all you want to. It could be that we end up being hunters and gatherers.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, that may be how you do it. That worked before. Maybe that'll work in the future. Maybe that's all we get.
That's all we get. Maybe.
Okay, but you're only going to get that if
you make big changes.
You make big changes now. Maybe you'll get that. No guarantees. There are no guarantees at this point. We have awakened a monster. It's called planetary physics. This is not a metaphor. Planetary physics is now raining down on us. Raining down. Sometimes literally raining down. And if we don't clean up our act, like yesterday, like 50 years ago, clean up our act, then I don't know. I don't know if there's a place for us. I really don't. And that, in some ways it would be fitting. We crapped in our nest. We abused our mother. We tormented our mother. And for 50 years, we raped and pillaged our mother. Now our mother, turns out, she could defend herself all along. And that's exactly what's going to happen.
And what it is capitalism that, what is it? Capitalism exploits people and nature for profit. And that's what...
To exhaustion for profit.
And that's what we've seen with COVID. Everything about COVID has been our teacher about the problems of capitalism. And, it's just brought it to a head, a lot of it. And
okay, listen, teacher. Yeah, you wish that was your teacher. No, that was your nursemaid.
Yeah, right.
Scolding you for being difficult. Your teacher hasn't entered the room yet. Your teacher's coming in, and your teacher is wearing armor and carrying a battle axe. And your teacher is not here to admonish you and scold you and try and make you be a good little boy and girl. Your teacher's coming here to decapitate you.
Right. The hurricanes.
Your teacher's going to teach you how to bleed. All right. Yeah. That's what your teacher's going to teach you.
Right.
Not how to be nice and how to play nice, how to get along, and how to be fair. Maybe it was a warning.
COVID was a warning.
Did COVID tell you that your teacher's about to show up and cut your head off with an axe? Because that's what's actually going to happen.
But that's what needs.
The real teacher is about to enter the room. Yeah. And the teacher has a name. It's called planetary physics. We're going to be broken off.
Right.
It's already started.
Right.
It's completely inevitable. And if Joe Biden thought he was going to convene his buddies at the top of power on Earth Day and come up with a solution, he was wrong.
Well, he's trying. At least he's trying.
No, he can try, but he's wrong. That is not the frame.
What's wrong? What
you can't solve this.
Okay.
Maybe 51 years ago, first Earth Day, maybe back then we could have solved this and stopped this and not had this happen.
But he's saying
at this late date.
Yeah. Okay. So what? Just the status of what's happening is he's asking for 50% reduction by 2030. That was good news. That was good news.
Yeah. So 9 years from now,
and that's what the science is saying.
50% reduction.
50 by 2030. And that's 9 years from now. 9 years.
Oh, and by the way, I'm here to tell you something. There's only two possible things that happen when you, with regards to 50% reductions by 2030, either one, you don't get them because the global economy would implode, or two, you do get them and the global economy implodes. And once the global economy implodes, you go very quickly from 50% to there are no carbon emissions, but you have no global economy. Okay, these guys are not going to let that happen, and that's why the Paris Climate Accords and all of its, milk toast requirements were voluntary.
So what Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, is saying is he wants lots more money to stop tearing down the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest. And I say, good, let's give it to him. Let's do that. Let's do that. And we need to be on a war footing. We need to start. Start.
That's fine.
And
the only way he's going to stop
peace diplomacy. We have to start it.
Okay, but the entity that's driving him to cut down the Amazon is China, because they want the soybeans and the meat. Okay,
and that has
China can't feed itself.
Yeah,
and they found in Bolsonaro a willing partner.
Right. Well, they could go back to growing vegetables. They're really into their vegetables. So anyway,
good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have to do. And it is the big sucking sound of the meat production that has caused the devastation.
Okay, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I am not here to talk about anybody's hobbies. Okay, I'm just.
But
here
this is what's
to say,
happening at the meeting.
On Earth Day, nothing's happening at the meeting.
Well, they're trying. Yeah, they're
on Earth Day. The generals of this coming campaign have gotten together to talk about their strategy.
Was Germany there? Is she there?
I assume no. Their strategy to wage this protracted war against nature. And I'm here to tell you, on Earth Day 2021, you're going to lose. You're just going to lose.
Right.
You can't fight this thing. Oh, right. Okay. You can fight this thing, but you can also lose. Okay. You can be ineffective at fighting this thing.
And we have been for 50, at least 51 years.
Oh, well, for 51 years, we've been poking our finger in nature's eye, essentially. And now that we've completely destroyed the planetary dynamic system, and the ice is melting, and the storms are brewing, and the oceans are boiling, and it's done. Okay, we've done all the damage we could do and make a profit. Now, if we continue doing damage, we're going to have losses. Everything we do from now on is losses. There's no more profiting. That was 50 years ago. We were profiting. Today, we're losing.
And what Kat said, and if Joe Biden is saying, at least he's saying it, bless his heart, okay? He's saying 50% by 2030. And it's the first politician that has said it. And I don't know if that's true, but I think it's one of the few. It's definitely in the United States is the first. And so, bless his heart, he's doing that. And when Kat has said about when we got that message from the science, which is in 2018, when it came out in the IPCC report, that it said we had to be, 50% by 2030. He said what that will look like is no flying, no driving, no movement of goods. That's a big one. And no jobs and no money. But he always said about a lot of work, and it'll be growing food, a lot of work. And,
And what I have actually said, and
that's what 50% looks like.
And this is difficult to comprehend. So listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You can listen too, because you consistently get it wrong. I don't know how we get to a 50% reduction in fossil fuel consumption. I don't know how we do that. Do we do it through war? Do we destroy the oil fields? Do we destroy each other so there's fewer people to consume fossil fuels? Do we have a complete collapse of the global economy? Do we just deliberately stop burning fossil fuels and take our hit? Okay. I don't know how we get to a 50% reduction in fossil fuel consumption. But I can tell you what the world looks like when you do. It looks like 0% consumption of fossil fuels. Furthermore, there's no flying. There's just no airline industry or airline transportation. There's no driving. Personal cars are gone, of all kinds, including electric. Maybe not entirely, but mostly the automobile for personal driving is gone. There's no movement of goods. Again, we're not moving things around, okay? But also, probably, we have so shrunk our economy that everything is hyper-local. without global economy, everything becomes hyper local by default. And so there's no movement of goods because you're consuming your goods as fast as you create them.
And fossil fuel is what moves them, you know.
Also, there's no movement of money because a lot of the movement of money was trade between different partners. And if we're not doing that anymore because we've shrunk our economy so much that it's local, then you don't have a movement of goods, you don't have a trade, you don't have movement of money. And the other thing you're not going to have is you're not going to have jobs. Again, because we can't support abstract services like coding and teaching and healthcare and things like that. You don't have a job, and there's no money to pay you for your job, and you don't have a salary, and you don't get that little token every 2 weeks that says you can participate in consumerism. And there is no consumerism, and there's no job. Now that doesn't mean there isn't work. There's more work than you can do. You're up at the crack of dawn, and you don't even go to bed until after the sun sets. And all of that struggle is just to have your hyper local economy.
Have food.
Yeah, the basics: food, clothing, shelter, right? And fending off the marauding hordes who haven't figured out how to make those things for themselves. Okay? I don't know how you get to 50% reduction in fossil fuel consumption. But as soon as you hit anything close to 50%, maybe even 20%, you go straight to 100% reduction because everything implodes. And then you don't fly, you don't drive, you don't move goods, you don't move money, and you don't have any jobs anywhere on the planet. It's done. That's where we're headed. We have to go there. Everything becomes contracted. Everything becomes hyper-local. Everyone is focused on survival. And, it may be a pretty good life for most people. You may have internet. You may have, social media. You might have all the things that we think are important, but it doesn't matter. You're still focused like a laser constantly on the basic needs of life. And people might even find that more fulfilling. They might even find greater purpose in their lives by being focused on their community and what their community needs. I imagine there's not going to be any more school shootings or mall shootings or people running around waving guns, because that's their purpose. There's not going to be storming of the Capitol. There's not going to be any police killing all the black people, shooting them in the back, because everyone's going to be very focused on survival. And you're going to find out who your friends are, and you're going to find out who's got the right attitude to pull together and do this. And the people who don't end up being part of the wandering mass of humanity that never got, their shit wired up tight. And all this could easily happen in the next 10 or 20 years. All that could come to us. And it starts with, unfortunately, 50% reduction in fossil fuels.
Fortunately, it's going to be better. It's going to be better. We shouldn't think of when every time we talk about COVID and we say, we've been so.
Oh, I don't want to hear about it. Anyway, I don't want to go there. I'm telling you,
there are a lot of benefits.
It's going to be really ugly.
But there's going to be a lot of benefits.
She's Dr. Pangloss over here. She only sees things through rose-colored glasses. I'm here to tell you, engineer to biologist, it's going to suck. Okay?
Because we're not ready. We're not getting prepared.
Because we're not ready. It doesn't mean you can't find moments of purpose. You could easily find you can find moments of purpose in the middle of trench warfare in the First World War, right? You could suddenly discover the goodness in that person next to you, or maybe even a moment of recognition of the goodness in your enemy. I'm not going to say you're not going to have moments of brilliance. I'm going to say it's like having trench warfare in the First World War. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be one for the record books if they're ever written. You may have moments of absolute godlike clarity. Beautiful songs will be written, but it's going to be hard because fossil fuels made everything so easy. Okay, and without that, the easy part, and it goes away. And why do we have to do this? Why do we have to abandon the fossil fuels? Why do we have to accept all of this hardship? Because if we don't, the planet is going to rip us to pieces. And it may rip us to pieces anyway.
That's what you're always saying. It is going to rip us to pieces. It's already in the pipeline, and so it's really.
It could rip us into smaller pieces if we're not careful.
Fine. Let's just talk about that. Okay? That there is something beneficial about. There will be some long-term gains. We have to look at that. That there will be some long-term gains if we stop to zero.
People don't have a good track record accepting short-term.
Right. Well, but now the stakes are very high. It's called extinction, right?
Well, we are in the 6th mass extinction.
We're on that train,
So
and we go down when
we're all passengers on that train
right,
now.
yeah, exactly, because we need those insects and we need those birds, and they're part of our, and we are biodiversity crisis. We're in a biodiversity crisis, and that's the web of life, and we can't survive without that. And then, I guess we could be going around pollinating our fruits,
Don't be ridiculous.
That's not going to work, right? That's not
No.
going to work to feed us. Those insects have been working hard for us, and we took advantage of them, and we
I
blew
don't
them
care.
out.
I don't care about the details. All
Yeah.
right. I don't care about the details.
Oh.
And and you and I both don't have sufficient imagination or experience to adequately predict what the world is going to look like when all of this comes to a screeching halt, which it must do, which Joe Biden and his peers were discussing today. They were discussing how to bring this to a screeching halt.
Okay, good. That's good.
That's what they were talking about.
Good.
And they were talking about it like generals in a war room.
Good. That's good. Good. Congratulations
Okay.
to them. Thank
We'll
you, Joe.
see.
He
We'll
did it.
see
Joe Biden's doing
if these leaders, so convened,
Yeah.
will accept their responsibility as generals
Right.
to wage this war on our behalf.
He
We'll
says
see.
it's an existential threat.
We'll see. Yeah,
That's-
yeah,
that's
and
general.
the Mongol horde coming over the hill is an existential threat. The Vikings sailing up the Danube is an existential threat. Okay, did those people rise to the threat? History does not record that they did. History does not record how marvelously they held off that existential threat. Genghis Khan and the Mongol horde, destroyed everything in their path. Why, I don't even know, but they did. The Vikings spared no one or no thing. Okay, why? Why did they do that? I don't know, but they did.
Well,
Planetary physics is now essentially riding over the hill and sailing up the Danube.
okay. And what's really beautiful right now, the good I could see, is that Joe Biden has put out the call for 50% reduction by 2030. That is news. And we need to all be, generals, like the generals put out the call. We're on an existential threat. We're on a war footing. He's put us on a war footing. Now we need to go. All of us need to start responding to that.
I would like for Joe Biden to have a fireside chat
with America.
In kind of the same way that FDR had a fireside chat with America on the eve of the Second World War, right? Like right after Pearl Harbor or whatever. And just tell the people frankly, I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to help you understand something that's important to your survival, which is that you are now at war and you're going to lose. Any way we fight this, we're fighting our own chances. We are at war.
Of survival. He has to talk about existential threat.
Yes. Anytime we win at this battle, anytime we push nature back and set it back on its heels, we've lost.
Okay, good. I like that one.
We've lost ground. We just burned. We've just salted our own earth. We've just burned our own crops. We've destroyed our own homes fighting nature. If we expect to have any future at all, we have to come to terms with nature.
Saving nature.
Well,
we have to save open space. We have to. That's what.
That's part of it. But we have to change ourselves.
Right.
Even our consumer habits are filling the oceans with plastic.
Right.
And pesticides.
Or going to office
else.
buildings.
And our
we
consumer
don't need to be
habits
doing that.
Are filling the atmosphere with CO2 and other greenhouse gases, trapping heat.
Right.
And our behavior is causing all of this.
Right.
We have to stop doing these things.
Right.
And if we stop doing these things, we'll get our 50% reduction in fossil fuel consumption. But we will also find on the way to that beautiful day, to that golden valley of 50% fossil fuel reductions, when we arrive on that beautiful day, we will look around and we will see a landscape, a human world where there is the following: no flying, no driving, no movement of goods, no movement of money, and no jobs. That's what we will see.
And I think no movement of people too. I mean, the no movement of people really. I say going back to our natural range, which is walking and bicycling. I mean, I think that is
human scale.
Human scale.
Human scale.
And you can ride
a horse.
He says no.
I'll allow that you can ride a horse.
Right. Okay. Good. I like that.
Or a goat. or something.
Or a
okay?
big dog.
Yeah, ride a big dog.
Or
okay.
a sleigh.
I will
Be on
allow.
a sleigh with the horse in front of you. Right, right.
It's not mean that does when I say I will allow, I don't mean I will allow it as if I was emperor and I will bless this activity. That's not what I mean. I will allow, as an engineer,
Right.
that you will have enough energy available to you that you can feed a horse
Right.
from pasture and put a saddle from some other animal that you fed to get the leather on that horse, and you will be able to ride that horse that with the solar energy that came to grow that pasture and feed that animal, and that animal has enough energy to put you on its back and drive you ride you
wherever
into
you
town.
might need to go.
I will allow
whatever you might.
I will allow
right.
that the future of energy on planet Earth
Yeah.
will allow you to do those things.
Okay. But didn't the American Indians,
as we have done those
didn't
things
they
for
ride
20,000
bareback?
years.
Didn't they ride bareback? They didn't have saddles. That was the European that got the saddle. They rode bareback.
The invaders brought saddles.
Right.
To the
So
Indians.
it's really bareback.
I don't think the Indians even rode the horses. I think the horses. We didn't have horses in North America. There were no horses in North America.
There weren't. Oh.
No. Horses are from Eurasia.
So we brought those.
There used to be horses, but of course the human invaders ate them all.
We put We put our animals.
Ate them all. Ate them all. And then we reintroduced them from Eurasia when the invaders came.
We exploit nature, which was the horses.
Spanish
the horses
invaders
and
came
the
and
animals
they
that
brought
we put on their back, and leather. We killed them, and we did that.
Yeah.
And it was all war, because
anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
I'm just allowing that the state of the planet will permit you to raise a horse,
right?
If you want to breed animals, a pasture horse,
it works,
and give that horse enough energy to carry you on its back into town.
That when you look at it scientifically, you're saying that the equation works for that.
Yeah, the physics works.
And the other thing,
the physics of all that
works. Okay, he says it works, and he evaluates things, and that's what we have to run it through that computer. Is how much fossil fuels.
I am like the adult
computer of
Greta Thunberg.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But you have the data in your head. You have the data.
Yeah, I've been collecting data.
And that you evaluate things.
50 years longer than she's been collecting data.
And you evaluate things, and you say whether or not it can work. And you have a lot of prophecies. And
I don't care about your way of life.
Right.
I don't care. Okay. I'm just here to call a spade a spade.
Right.
And when we get to 50% reductions in fossil fuels, which Joe Biden says needs to happen in 9 years.
No, science says. And he's just saying it.
Science has been saying it for a long time.
Right.
Joe Biden today.
Politicians have finally agreed.
Joe Biden today, with his general's hat on, in a war room, in a war room setting, talking to the other commanders-in-chief of their respective armies, Joe Biden said we must get to 50% fossil fuel reductions.
And what?
In 9 years.
And what Kat is saying is, and I'd like to explain that, but just maybe to finish up. But when he says when you get to 50%, you really get to zero because everything collapses. And you want to just say something about that, and then we'll be done?
I said it earlier. I'll repeat it. Okay. And this is a very nuanced explanation, and you need to listen.
All right.
And you need to listen.
All right.
I don't know how we get to a 50% reduction, or even a 20%, or even a 10%, because we haven't done any of these things. I don't know how we get to any reduction in fossil fuel consumption. The mechanisms, whether it's top down or bottom up or consumer led or government led or industry led, I don't know how that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible it can't happen. And that's really the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. But let's put on our rose colored glasses, shall we? Let's be Dr. Pangloss and see the world through rose colored glasses. And we actually, in 9 years, or even less, it'd be nice, we get to a 50% reduction in fossil fuel consumption somehow. Okay? On that golden day, when that sun rises over that horizon on that golden day, we will actually be at no fossil fuel emissions. Because any reduction in the way we burn fossil fuels today results in a complete collapse of the global economy.
Our capitalistic society.
A complete collapse of our global economy, of global industrialization, global capitalism, global finance, everything collapses. And we become, on that day, it may be before that day, maybe it's a process, but on that day, golden day, because we tried to get to 50% reductions in fossil fuel consumption, because we tried that, on that day, we will be at zero consumption of fossil fuel. We will not be consuming fossil fuels because the road to a 50% reduction is the same road as a complete collapse of global industrialized civilization.
That's the word.
And on that day, I don't know how we get there. It could be bloody. It could be a miracle. It could be just a huge,
renaissance,
sweeping renaissance of human cooperation and recognition of all of us as unique and important people. I don't know how we get to a 50% reduction, but I can tell you, on that golden day, when that sun rises on that day, we will not be consuming fossil fuels anywhere. And what that will look like when you look around on that golden day, as you celebrate achieving your goal, what it will look like is there's no flying of any kind. There's no driving. Your personal car, your transportation, anything. There's no movement of goods. It's stopped. You're not getting iPhone 14s from China, okay? There's no movement of money. There's no trade. There's no finances. There's no balance of trade. There's nothing. And there's no jobs. And on that day, you will get up on that golden day as that sun rises over that horizon and you see no planes in the sky and no cars on the street and everything. You will know you don't have a job. You may not have had a job for a long time. You'll know you have no income and there's nothing for you to buy. And on that golden day, you walk out of your house and you look out your front door and you see the fields and the orchards that are your responsibility. You will see your neighbors coming out of their homes and their little children running out in the front yard. And you look at your neighbor on your left and you'll look at your neighbor on the right and you'll say, let's get to work.
Let's make food. Let's grow food.
Whatever work is at that point.
Basics,
whatever the work is at that point.
Food, clothing, and shelter.
You're going to have pruning to do. Right. You're going to have planting to do. You're going to have harvesting to do.
Right.
You're going to have barrels to make. Right. You're going to have chairs to make. You're going to have houses to build.
Right.
There's going to be a schoolhouse for the little children. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of things you have to do.
Right.
You have a lot of work. You're going to have more work than you can do.
Right.
Your purpose will begin when you open your eyes in the morning and you contemplate consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You will rise out of your bed with a sense of purpose. And you will go out your front door into that dawn with no planes in the sky, no cars on the streets, and you will look to your neighbors and you will look to your neighbors and you'll say, good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you, madam. We got work to do. And that's how it used to be. And that's how it will be in the future. Mm-hmm. If we get to reductions in fossil fuels of those magnitude, the day will come. Mm-hmm. And at that point,
and that's going back to our historic past.
On that day, maybe the war with nature is over.
And that's maybe going back to our start. That's the permaculture philosophy. Is we need to go back to our historic past where we were connected to we lived in small communities, connected to our landscape, and we need to be connected to our landscape by growing food and being outside and everything that the children need to learn will be there because it's not only all the science and skills that we have developed as a species and our great expansion of our brains and intelligence, but also for our own survival, and it'll be connecting it all in the cycle of life. And that's where we have to go. And, we've been there before. We can do it. That's what I say. We can do it. We've been there before, right? Oh, somebody.
We have a comment.
We have a person. Osama number 5. The economy is your Jenga game. Climate change is a 2-year-old careening toward it.
Okay, now
we have a person.
That's true. That's actually a really good analogy. That's true on many levels. We have
Jenga game.
The way you start a Jenga game is it's kind of how we did this. You start little, right? You got all the blocks and you start stacking them, right?
2-year-old.
And we've been toward it. It's not just the Jenga game that we found and inherited and walked over and started playing Jenga. We actually built this Jenga game. We've been building this for thousands of years. Let's just face it. And we're very happy with how we stacked it. We never intended to take it apart. Okay? That's how you play Jenga. You quickly stack them up and you start pulling the blocks out, and that's the game. We never intended to take this thing down. What we really intended to do was just keep building it like this.
Go to Mars.
Go to Mars. Stacking up our Jenga blocks, right? I mean, and when you say it that way, you think, oh, right. So this was actually insane. This game we're playing is crazy.
And he says climate change is a 2-year-old careening toward it. So a 2-year-old will
Okay.
just go and break it down.
That's
I
fine.
guess.
That's fine. I like that analogy, but it's worse than that. We intended, this was actually our thinking process. We intended to keep growing this thing forever.
Right. Yeah.
We were going to keep stacking these little blocks of wood on each other to the moon. And when you actually think about the physics of doing that, you realize, oh, that's insane. You can't actually do that. You're going to have to at some point start taking blocks out and lowering this thing. You can keep stacking on the top, but you have to keep breaking down the bottom, okay? Because you can't stack to the moon. The laws of physics won't allow it. And we never accepted that infinite growth was a problem. We never accepted that.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have seen that we have really hit the ceiling. We have hit the point now where if we stack this any higher, it's going to all fall over. My word for that, my phrase for that is an uncontrolled demolition.
Well, he's saying it. Climate change is a 2-year-old careening toward it, meaning
it's
that's
like
Mother
a 2-year-old careening toward it.
Coming
but
at
I'm
it.
also here to tell you the original premise that we're going to stack this thing for all time was flawed, okay? And now we have a 2-year-old crashing into our beautifully constructed tower, but the idea that the 2-year-old is going to break our groove.
He calls climate change is the 2-year-old. Climate change is
that's
the
fine.
2-year-old.
And I'm here to tell all you people, it's not a third party. This thing contains the elements of its own destruction.
When Mother Nature is coming, like the 2-year-old, it's just coming.
No, Mother Nature was always there.
It's coming towards our
The
economy.
reason we can't stack this thing for all time is because of physics.
Because our economy is built on sand. It's built on a bad foundation.
Oh, it's built on
exploiting nature
it's built on a
and
misunderstanding.
people for profit.
No. I mean, fine, that's true.
Okay.
The economy is based on exploiting humans and nature for profit. But the worst part of it is it's built on this bizarre notion that you can do that forever in a finite world. You can just keep doing it forever in a finite world.
And we found that
we didn't even need a three-year-old to come running into the room and run into our beautifully constructed tower. It's already too high. It was going to fall over of its own internal contradictions. Even the pandemic, just set aside climate change, the pandemic was enough to knock down our Jenga tower.
That's right.
Of capitalism right now, the global,
our economy, which is the
global,
Jenga game.
You know what a Jenga game is?
Well, whatever you explain. You said the building of the block. He says the economy is your Jenga game. You know, that's what we've been building.
And the pandemic, whatever you think about the pandemic,
it put a lot of
or whatever.
It was,
it was enough to bring capitalism to its knees.
Right.
All right. I mean, why do you think that Donald Trump became such within like weeks of him accepting that this was a real thing, within weeks of him accepting that, he became an absolute fanatic that it was a hoax and we have to get back to work and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's a rich guy. Why would he care? Well, because people came to him and said, Donnie, we can't acknowledge this. We have to get people back in the workplace and all this kind of stuff. And we're still doing that, even here in California.
And we gave all our money.
So enlightened.
Now,
the reason is because this Jenga tower that we've built over thousands of years is far more fragile than we understand. And we thought this thing could go on forever. And the first little tiny pandemic, which is like a blip, right? Even if it's 2 or 3 years, in the big picture, and given our technology and how well we understand epidemiology
it's not going away.
Whatever. So even if it doesn't go away, it's still just a tiny blip. Even the fatality rate is 1%. This is nothing. And yet, this tiny little thing that's essentially nothing collapsed the global economy and put capitalism on its knees. Now, if you think that wasn't an indication that we have a big problem with the way we're doing things, then you're not paying attention. And when climate change comes along, it crashes into this thing. And if you want to have the real analogy, it's not a 3-year-old, because we could manage a 3-year-old. We could grab the 2-year-old, pick him up and say, no, you can't touch my Jenga tower. It's not like that. It's more like Godzilla coming into the living room and crashing into your Jenga tower. And in fact, bringing the house down.
Climate change is the Godzilla.
Climate change is not a petulant 3-year-old that won't mind. Climate change, planetary physics, let's just call it what it is. Planetary physics is Godzilla, an elemental force that you can neither steer nor reason with, nor, practically speaking, fight. You can't even defeat it. Oh, what can you do? Can you run away? I guess that's what you do in the movies. They all run away. And they hope that the thing gets distracted and goes to eat some other city or some other monster. I mean, you can't argue with this thing. And climate change is not really a petulant 3-year-old. Climate change is Godzilla. And we made this economy one block at a time, and all these compromises and all these rules and all this careful management and the Federal Reserve and the UN and all these things that we had to put together to get this thing to climb even higher than maybe it probably would have normally. We worked really hard at it. And absolutely for the last 100 years, we worked hard at it. And we just kept piling up compromise after compromise, and this thing is not sustainable.
Right.
It's very fragile. The pandemic, if it did nothing else, it showed us how fragile this thing really is.
Well,
people were really shocked at how fragile this thing really is.
Right.
Very shocked.
How, you know,
I'm telling you, the world leaders are shaking in their boots because they didn't realize how shaky this thing is. That just one perturbation was enough to practically bring it down. And they didn't want anyone to know that. They didn't want anyone to see that. And they probably were in denial too. And so here we are on Earth Day, and Joe Biden and his peers at the top are actually technically at this point at war. They have assumed their duties as commanders in chief of their respective forces. And they are going to now, I'm sure we're going to see over the next several years, they're going to roll out all the weapons in their arsenal.
Oh, good.
Qualitative easing, UBI, retraining,
right?
Global trade, global governance, cryptocurrencies.
Stop the bill.
I could go on and on.
Stop the bill.
They're going to pull out every tool they can manage to try and put more blocks on top of this tower they're building, and to keep every shaking force from disrupting their clearly, as we've learned, extremely fragile. Jenga tower.
But he's calling for a 50% reduction. So 50% reduction means a reduction. We stop a lot of stuff. We've got to stop a lot of stuff, and that's just the message.
Yeah, I don't care
go back to basics.
What we have to stop or how we're going to do it.
But
I can tell you we're headed for a very interesting place, and I want to call it interesting. And we can finish on this note. I want to call it interesting. I consider this a challenge. Right? I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
And challenge accepted. That's what we do. Someone comes along, they enter the room, and they say, "We need a bridge. We need some sort of structure. We need a solution." And it's really difficult. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's hard. Okay. And I could walk away and say, well, that's impossible. Or since I'm an engineer and I enjoy challenges, and I have that mind, I got that mind that just takes it on like a dog worrying a bone. And I say, okay, challenge accepted. So there's a part of me that looking forward to this. I'm actually looking forward to this. Challenge accepted. Let's haul out the big dogs. Let's haul out the heavy artillery. Let's bring out everything we've got. And we're at war now with a foe we cannot defeat. It's an enemy that we awoke, and now it's coming for us because of what we are doing. And can we do things differently? Challenge accepted. What can we do? What can we salvage? What do we have to get rid of first? And if we get rid of that, what are going to be the impacts? How do we deal with the impacts? What are the mitigations? What path can we go down that's a controlled demolition that doesn't wipe us out?
Okay, I got the answer.
With nothing.
I got the answer, and the answer is what our ancestors have done, traditionally, and that is living in small communities connected to our landscape. And we have to start growing. Okay, you got an approval because it's getting back to our roots, and we need to start growing food locally, and that's what we need to do. And we have to stop the build, stop the Jenga tower, the Jenga game.
And I don't think that because I'm a dirty hippie, and I want everyone to live in a teepee. I'm saying that because it's true.
Right, and the climate change is the 2-year-old careening toward it, and that's the abyss. That is the we are
the 2-year-old careening toward. We're going to destroy ourselves.
We are.
If we're not careful, we're going to destroy ourselves even before Godzilla shows up. And if we can't figure this out,
to get a different economy,
how to dismantle this thing and make it less vulnerable. It needs to be a
hyper-local economy. That's it. Let's go to the gardens and let's start growing.
We got things to do.
We love you. Thank you, Osama number 5. We love you for joining us.
We've all got work to do.
Thank you for your comment. We love you.